Hello racers, and welcome to today's video. In today's video we are looking at episode 3 of season 2 of the indoor racing series with the Mini-B. Just to recap, episode 1 we upgraded the system to a brushless system, and the handling we got from the car that day was a tremendous amount of traction roll. Episode 2, we tackled the traction roll by lowering the car down and some other tuning pieces we did, and then the car developed quite a bit of a push. So in today's episode, what we're going to do is focus on tuning the car with anti-squat using the TLR tuned C and D blocks for the Mini-B brushless. We're also going to do some tire tuning. As I was thinking about it, one of the other things could be push. So you can see the tread on the tires that were on the car were very low. I'm going to try some tires that are fairly fresh, see if that fixes the push issue. Might put a little bit of glue on the outside edge of this, and I'll show you how that's done. And after we install this into the car, I'll show you how that we'll tune the car by putting the car on the Spare Time Hobby setup stands. These little wheels and things we did a little review on, and the Sky RC scales. So that said, let's take a look at this little C and D block kit that we got. Now it was made for the brushless version. Let's see what we get in the pack. So one of the options that the RTR does not have in the back of the car is the ability to raise and lower the rear hinge pins. And why would you want to raise and lower the rear hinge pins? Well, one thing it can do is give you anti-squat, which prevents the car from squatting under power. You can also adjust the rear toe. So in the little kit, we get these very small washers. We get the aluminum C and D block. And we get the insert pills that go into them. Now with the pills, and hopefully they're the right ones in the box, they say they're 1 degree pills. And with 1 degree pills, we can tune the rear of the car. It's an option that the RTR doesn't have. So in the box, it says on the website that the toe with the C block in the center and the D block in the center gives you 3 degrees of rear toe. And what rear toe does is give you forward grip. So the more rear toe you have, the more forward grip, but you lose side grip. Not lose side grip, you lose corner speed because the rear end is so locked in. And in the box of the RTR, with the C set to 0 and the D set to 0, you have 2 degrees of anti-squat. So what I want to try in this video is 3 degrees of anti-squat, which is, I went through and I made this little chart of C set to the center, C with the pill up, and the C with the pill down, and then D with the D in the center, D up, D down, and I calculated all the different squat degrees it could be. And what I decided to do is the C up with the D in the center. That will improve the anti-squat from 2 degrees to 3, and it'll raise the roll center very slightly. So in that case, what it will do, maybe it's best if I take a tire off and we can see what's going to happen here. Let's take a tire off and we can look. So what the anti-squat is the angle of this arm. You can see that it's turned slightly. That's the 2 degrees turn of anti-squat it has. With 3 degrees, it'll go even more of an angle. And what that'll do is it'll raise the rear on power and give you more steering. It'll trade rear grip for steering. That's what anti-squat does. If you level the arms out flat, the car will squat more on power. And that will give you more like on power grip, more overall grip. It'll also lower the roll center. So what I'm doing is I'm going to trade the rear grip I have, which I seem to have quite a bit. I'm going to try some new tires there too. You can see they're getting quite bald now over this series. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to adjust it to give myself an extra degree of anti-squat and to give myself more on power steering. This is what we're going to do. The C block will move up, the D block will leave in its position. Now, I was also thinking I might remove some of the rear toe to remove some of the car's rear grip. Now, a large number of rear toe works great if the track is inconsistent, which means if it's not all high grip, there's some low grip areas, some high grip areas. And sometimes our track is inconsistent. As a line gets burned in, you can see that gray line that appears on our track. So I'm going to first start out with leaving the D block at 0. But what I might do is move the D block out 1. And what that would do, if I move the D block in, it will remove a degree of toe. So whenever you see the D block moving in, it removes a degree of toe. And that's what we'll do. Okay, so let me install that and I'll come back and we'll review our tuning. See you in a few minutes. And we are back. Actually, we're back from a day of racing. But what I'd like to do first, before we look at the race video, is actually take a look at the finished setup for the day. Now, when we last looked at the car, we were installing the C and D blocks, and you can see I have the D blocks visible on the back of the car. It's hard to see the C block, you can kind of see it from the bottom. Easily removed by taking out those 4 screws, pulling out the previous and putting in the new. Probably a 2-minute job. The 40-minute job, I guess, was me fighting to get the little pills. The little pills are a couple of thous bigger than the hole that were in my D blocks and C blocks. So each pill I had to use a X-Acto knife and trim it down very slightly, just scrape a little off of it to get it to fit in. And that took probably 10 to 15 minutes a pill. So that is not something that I could do trackside with the kit that I have. So a little disappointed with that. Now the 3 degrees of anti-squat that I did put in on the rear arm there, it actually did seem to give a bit better steering. So with that, I got the camera at a little bit of an angle because I want to show you the final ride height that I ended up with and the final settings. And here is my ride height gauge that I use. Hopefully you can see that in the video. So what I do is I measure it approximately where the kick turns up in the front. Set your ride height with the car in full racing dress with your battery and everything in it. And then you compress the suspension. And the reason I like this ride height gauge is you can actually leave it there and you can see it move. I'll move this over a bit so you can see it. And you can see that the front is about 9 millimeters of ride height. I have it set very low. And in the back, again, about 9 millimeters. Slightly between 8.5 and 9. So the front is slightly above. And when that happens with the front a little bit up, you'll get a little bit of a push out of it, and we'll see that in the race video. What I did, remember we talked about tires? What I did is I glued this outside edge of the tire on both sides. So I put a bead of glue around, and I went up to the rib, and with the glue still wet, I used a piece of paper towel and spun the tire and smoothed the glue out so it made this nice shiny finish. And what that does is when the car goes into a corner and it begins to roll, it'll go up on that glue and slip. It'll actually slip enough to keep the car from rolling over. So that was my insurance policy that I used. Now, before we take a look at the racing video of the car in action, let's just measure the camber and toe. Just quickly measure that. So for toe, I'm just going to do a quick measurement with the caliper. Put that back so you can see. Now in the front, how I measure this is I just put it here until it's just touching the tire. I'll just double sure that it's zeroed. We move it out. I measure from the inside, and it's about 138. And on the back, it is make sure I got that set right. Now there's so much slop in these little cars. I think that's good. 136, so 2 millimeter difference. So that is about 1 degree, 1 to 1.5 degree of toe out. It's about 1.5 millimeter per degree. So we're about 2 degrees toe out. Toe out settles the car down. Now here is my LCS gauge, and how this works is you again set it at ride height and put this up against the side of the tire, and you can see that the front, this left front, is about 4 degrees. Let's just make sure it's all pushed in there properly. Yeah, it's about 4. Let's check the right front. Right front is about 4 as well. So I originally intended to have these straight up and down, but in my crashing and banging, I think I have it now misset, and they're about 3 to 4 degrees. So that isn't right. Let's just double check the back. Yeah, set it at ride height. It's about 2 degrees on that side, and let's quickly look, and it's about 3 degrees on that side. So I really wanted 1 degree of rear, 0 in the front. And as a reminder, 40 weight shock oil, 6 millimeters of spacers on the inside, no roll shims, center shims in the front. In the rear, 35 weight shock oil, 10 millimeters of spacer, about 1 millimeter of roll center shim out in the corner. What I also have for droop, we'll put this here so we can see. You see that in the camera? Now, it's set at ride height. You can see the little gauge there at about 9 degrees. When the suspension lifts on power, you can see that it's approximately 13 millimeters of height. Tires are coming off the ground now. So between 9 and 13 is 4 millimeters of droop. That's what I was trying to explain in the previous video, what I meant by the droop. And the droop helps when you're rolling the car, keeps the inside tire from coming off the ground. Okay, so with that said, we took a look at the tires. I think we need a new set for next time. Saw the glue, saw the camber settings, and got an overview of that. So now let's take a look at the race video and see how this car performed on the track with this setup. Okay, racers, we're back with today's race video. Now, the goal of this week's race was to get into the podium of the A. Last week we got in 4th, and I also wanted to be in the running for like pushing hard, and I actually qualified 2nd. You can see the yellow car coming into frame now. So qualified 2nd this, and the green car qualified 1st. Now the problem areas in this car, this track, where you can see the bottom right, where it got a bad push, and at the end of the straight, and right there got a little bit of contact. It kind of unsettled the car. So watch for those two areas, the bottom right and the top left. You can see the car going around now. Watch for that top left, and we'll see how it goes through. Big push through that corner. So it's still inconsistent steering. The car in and of itself had really good grip, but it just seemed to lack a little bit if I got outside of that gray line that's running. So still need more initial grip, but you can see the car handling much better with a lot of traction compound on the tires, plus that glue on the outside edge to keep it from traction rolling, and very low ride height, 9 millimeters front and rear. You can see a lot more speed now. You get to air out the tires, air out the motor. That Fury Tech is working great.
After 1 minute 30 seconds, the top drivers are great in first place.
And just keep an eye on that car behind. You'll see a red car with a white wing coming into frame now, going under the bridge. The yellow car is mine. The car with a white wing on. You'll see that it comes into play later in the race. I'm running in 2nd place now, and the one with the white wing is running in 3rd. So here we go around the bottom right, up to the top left. Now, how I had to adjust the driving style was the car would still traction roll if you went into a corner too hot. So what I was having to do was get into the brakes. You can see I was going through and braking, and my braking into that hairpin wasn't very good. Got into this like run and gun style of racing, which I'm not all that good at. But when you're on the brakes heavy and you're on the acceleration heavy, you start heating up the tires. And when you heat up the tires, you get even more risk of traction roll. So let's kind of keep an eye on what's going on here. So the car seems to be handling well. I'm not flowing as well as I'd like.
After 3 minutes, the top drivers are great in first place.
There's still a little bit of a push there.
Followed by Michelle Elmontagne in 3rd place. Followed by Bordeaux in 4th place. Followed by Baird in 5th place. 5th, 3rd, 4th, 1st, 2nd.
Okay, so let's see on the top left here as I go into this corner. Just a little hint of a traction roll at the end of that corner, and you can see that green car is really pressuring to pass, and that pressure is like making me miss the braking points. That's the whole idea of racing, is to really push your competitor. You can see here I actually pushed it a little too hard. It got up on 2 wheels and rolled over there just off screen. So disappointing. You can kind of see heated up the tires and got into the traction roll situation again. But one way to contend with that is to slow down a bit, and that's what I decided to do. You can see up in that top left again, got on 2 wheels again. So the car's really pushing hard, trying to be that contender. Oh, there it went, top left, a little bit of a roll.
2nd, 3rd, 1st.
Really pushing hard to try to see if I can win this race, or at least secure the 2nd place.
3rd, 5th, 1st. After 4 minutes 30
Watch it a
seconds,
bit, trying to see the overall grip and what am I going to change for next week. Please comment below if you have some ideas.
Followed by Bordeaux in 4th place. Followed by Baird in 5th place. 4th.
Okay, in the
third,
Now in that, you
first,
saw that I hit
fifth,
the wall there.
fourth,
The reason I hit
second,
that was
first,
that the car leaned
third,
up on 2 tires again as I went into that. I
fourth,
didn't slow down enough. As you can see, I'm being a bit more tentative now.
first, third,
So if I push it
fourth,
too
1
hard,
minute
there's
left,
still a
second,
little bit of roll.
fifth,
But
first,
other than that, the car's working much better. Getting that little bit of initial,
third,
it's
fourth,
missing initial grip, I
second,
think, in the front. It's just
fifth,
not biting in and
first,
giving me that nice corner entry that I'd like. Now see, I just passed that car,
second,
red with the white wing. He's
first,
going to be coming into play
fifth,
now. So he is 3rd place, and I'm running in 2nd at this
second,
point in the race.
third, fourth, first,
You see right here an unforced error letting that car go by. So now we are on the same lap, and
fourth,
I flipped there in the middle of the track.
fifth,
Marshall's coming to get me. It's a slow lap, and now 3rd place is
10,
right behind me at the end of the race.
first,
So at this
sixth,
point, I'm just
5,
going
4,
to push as
3,
hard as I
3,
can to stay in 2nd.
third, 1.
We're on the final lap.
First
You can
mile
see
done
that
in
he's
39
really
laps,
pushing to
6:02 lap
make
result.
that last lap
Second
pass,
Michelle
but
done in the 37 lap,
able to
6:03.1
secure
result.
that overall
Second
2nd.
Greg done in the 38 lap, 6:06.2 result.
So at this
Third Wyatt
point,
done in the
the
38
race
lap,
is over. I just
6:06.5
wanted to do
result.
some extra
Fifth Greg
laps
done
that
in
you
the
guys
33
could
lap,
see. These
6:08.3
are
result.
completely
All drivers are finished.
free
The race
laps.
is
But I
completed.
just wanted to see how well the car was handling, not in a race condition. I can see if I get offline, I do slide. Now, I'll just let you watch that. If you like this type of racing, click like. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe. And if you have any comments on how I can improve the handling of the car for the next episode, just put your comments just below. Thanks. We'll see you in the next video.